Hello and welcome to another Tech Campus Coffee Live webinar. This is an opportunity for you to learn about career paths at Tech directly from professionals in your field.
We'll be speaking to technical representatives from a variety of fields at Tech, and they'll share why they enjoy what they do.
Participants also have a chance to directly ask speakers and recruiters questions and get a good understanding of why Tech is a great place to work, as well as where your strengths, talents, and learning opportunities lie.
We'll start with Ithar. Ithar, if you could maybe join us today, maybe talk to us a little bit about your current role and how that plays into the company and what the importance of big data is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ithar. I'm a data scientist for the for Race21. I joined Tech. It's been about a year and a half now. And I'm working in the ore body knowledge domain for two teams, the coal recovery team and the raw coal blending and advanced analytics team. I would say that the kind of like an idea about what some examples for some of the work that we do. We're trying to kind of like optimize the operations we have on the site for blending and also recovering coal, and that involves kind of like applying different types of methods and advanced analytics tools to kind of make that optimization, so increasing the profit, decreasing the cost, and also making sure that health and safety is the priority. So the other part of the question was basically what type of things I kind of enjoy now in tech, or have been enjoying working in tech. I would say the first one is related to the data science and the type of problems we work on. I came to a conclusion that they're kind of quite an interesting type of problems, things that you might really not face somewhere else. They're kind of very unique type of problems. And sometimes I find myself, spending a couple of days researching about a particular problem, reaching out to senior data scientists and lead data scientists to come up with a way to tackle a problem, because they're kind of unique. You could imagine they would be unique, of course, because we're optimizing a particular way of working in a specific pipeline for a specific site sometimes, and it makes the solutions and the problems themselves very unique. That equips you with a variety of knowledge and skills that you would need to kind of improve and learn to accomplish that task. But the other thing that is quite fun as well is actually the team. So you would have the chance to kind of have an access to about 50 or so data scientists with different experiences coming from different backgrounds. I came from a software engineering background and also electric and electronic engineering background, but there are people from physics, mining, social sciences, and all those different fields, and they have also different seniority levels. And you'd have that access to all of those people, so it would be something that will also improve your skill set, and it's quite an experience actually. So yeah, that's basically what I've been enjoying so far.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right, and we're gonna pass it over to Jared for an intro, and if you could put that slide up, great. That's good. Yeah. So Jared, if you could talk to us a little bit about your role and what you like to do, and we know you like to bike, but what's your job entail?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jared Canton. I'm a deployment specialist. I work with the maintenance group within Race. I've had a pretty interesting career. I am a mechanical engineer by degree, and I've worked for Tech since 2008. And some of that portion for the first 2 or 3 years of that was as a co-op student, and then I came on full time afterwards. So early in my career, I spent a lot of time working at site. So I spent 9 years working on site, and I've always been in roles that require problem solving skills, and trying to solve some of these complex problems that we deal with in mine and mine maintenance. And so I've always kind of gravitated towards what are new and better and different ways to solve the problems that our industry faces every day. About a year and a half ago, I joined the race team, and it's exposed me to, especially in the analytics space, exposed me to a lot more methods and a lot more people and a lot more skills to help solve some of the more complex problems that we get. As you can imagine, an engineer has a certain skill set to solve the problems day to day, but some of the data scientists that I get the pleasure of working with, and the data engineers, the software developers, they unlock so much more that we can do. So it's been a pleasure to learn from them and work with them and give them the insights from the operation that help us solve the problems that we face. What do I like about my job? I love solving problems. I think I've said that a few times now, but the challenges, similar to what Aithar said, is the challenges that we face in this industry are complex. They're very different layers. There's different there's impacts from external factors that make the problem really challenging, and so that's part of me. What drives me in my current role is just trying to find these new solutions. Some of the things I'm working on right now is that may be of particular interest are, some places in our industry we're finding is we don't actually have the data to solve the problem, and we actually have to create methods to acquire the data. So I'm spending quite a bit of my time in the last while is creating these methods that we can get the data we need to help solve the bigger goals that we have within, in my particular domain is maintenance. So that's been fun to build applications to do that. The other areas, we have a lot of problems that involve cost and productivity of our equipment, and we're trying to figure out what is the most efficient and lowest cost way to help sites make decisions. So a lot of complex analysis and modeling that enable us to unlock those. So that's a bit about myself and what I'm working on. Obviously, I love by my picture there, I live in the Elk Valley. I love biking, skiing, everything in between that the place offers. So if that's your jam, it's a great place to work.
It's great. All right, thanks, Jared. Okay, well, we've got a few questions popping up, so I appreciate you guys putting it in there, and it's some good questions so far. So one person's asked a little bit about training for new co-op students or even new graduates into the space, and I know that we do a lot on the job training. We've hired sort of junior people to the team before. Can maybe, Jared, I know you have students quite a bit. I'm not sure Ithar, if you have, but Jared, can you talk to us a little bit about some training provided for new co-op students in that space?
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm really passionate about, there's a development of sort of the analytic skills or the certain capabilities. I'm really passionate about, trying to hook our students up with people that can give a little more direct feedback on those skills. But I'm really passionate about we have to engage with customers, right? And our customers are the people on the mine site. So I'm passionate about developing those skills as well. So regardless if you're new, we have so much capability in our company that we can find someone that can help coach if it's not your direct supervisor, and then you can get coaching on kind of the soft skills, which are especially in this analytics world is really key, because we got to try to communicate the results of our analysis to stakeholders that may not know how you did that analysis in the first place. So there's kind of two elements there that I personally try to focus on with our students, and to develop them and develop their career, and kind of push them towards whatever career goals they have.
Awesome, thanks. Ithar, do you want to highlight that? And then also there's another question which maybe you could mention too, is we're wondering how data is collected from mining operations. Is it through IoT devices or through manual collection? Maybe you could speak to that as well from your end.
Yeah, I think for the training, So I didn't really start as a co-op, but I can say even after the co-op period, the training is always kind of available because you just always need to learn new things. And one of the examples said that now for the data science, we're moving from GCP or Google Cloud to Azure, and that transition requires acquiring a lot of knowledge about Azure and training for that as well. So that's one of the examples. So the training will go with you, all the time. You'll always learn. About the data, so this is a very good question because I mean data science itself, you need data to kind of make the analysis and basically make, if you want, predictions and all of that, and it's actually one of the main pillars of Race 21 in the first place, right? So the C is connect, and connect here is to acquire that data and make it available. So we definitely have sensors, we have historical data as well, and we do have manual collected data, but that's not the main thing that we try to focus on. The sensor data is something that you will just experience all the time, and it's the main source of data we have. And we always try to make sure that, and that's of course through the data engineers and data developers that you'll find in the teams, to kind of acquire that data in a very good, accessible format, also for the future of the data science work. So yeah, it's a lot of all, but definitely IoT devices and sensors.
Great. All right. And then I guess in terms of, someone coming on board, if they were joining us as a student or a new data scientist, say, for example, are there any sort of skill sets or programs that they should really be knowledgeable with before they join the team, or is it a bit of a mixed bag? Jared, maybe I'll start with you and then we can pass it over to Ether.
Well, Ether is probably better to answer this, but the I use a lot of I'm connecting with the site, so I'm doing a lot of the sort of valuation and analysis, and I use a lot of Excel and things like that. But specifically to the data science side, I think Ether, you probably have a kind of a better grasp on the specifics there. Maybe take that one on.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jared. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we like different data scientists with different experiences makes it very kind of like really difficult to say exactly what the skills you need, because also we have different teams, different domains, and for each domain you might really require different types of knowledge. For example, for me, I did a Master of Data Science where we were basically studying a lot of machine learning and statistics, but I know also we have a team that is heavily focused on optimization and mathematical optimization. And even if you don't have very strong knowledge and skills in machine learning and statistics, having good mathematics and optimization skills, that was needed for that role specifically. So I would say it's a bunch of things, but it's what I felt is that just the basic knowledge you need to have, the basic knowledge of what is data science and like how to approach a data science problem, and then while you're working you will acquire the in-depth skills. So it's not something that we can specify for sure. And I think even for the data science chapter, we struggle with setting basically the requirements for any data science role, because that's the fun part, right? The diversity.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know there's some flexibility in the team too, different programs and things that we use, depending on where people's specialty are and what they're used to using, right? So great. All right. And we're speaking a little bit about co-op. So while we're chatting about it, we have Manish on the line here, and he's a current co-op. So Manish, maybe I'll pass it over to you just to introduce a little bit about, as a co-op, what kind of projects you get to work on. What sort of things are you doing as a co-op with Tech?
Sounds good, Stacy. Hey, everyone. It's been great to be part of this campus coffee. My name is Manish. I'm a co-op student, part of Tech's technology and innovation team. It's a pretty small team with a handful of senior people, and these guys are making some of the most important decisions about Tech's future and innovation. So being a co-op student, part of that team, I get to do investigations for all of the people that I work for. So someone could reach out to me and ask me, hey, we have, this data from HPC. Could you figure out something about it? Could you look into it and see if there's any analytics that you can, put into a report and then put into a PowerPoint and present it to other people? So that's kind of like how I help out with technology and innovation. Our team also does a lot of modeling and simulation work. And so something that I'm working on right now is developing test cases to test out a haulage simulation that we have. And that's been a lot of fun. I'm basically just trying to find ways to break the simulation by putting in certain inputs. And yeah, you get to learn a lot. I think someone asked about, training on the job. I think most importantly, the training is up to you, because you're going to be sort of shown new things, and then it's up to you to go online and research that keyword and learn about it. So in my time at Tech so far, I've learned a lot of skills in Excel, pivot tables, and Python. And for me, next, I would really like to learn how to use Power BI in a more serious way. So that's what I have to say.
That's great insights. And I think there's a lot we can take away from that conversation. Well, obviously, some of the highlights you had in terms of programs you've got to have some exposure to and learn about. But then I think another neat thing that you mentioned there, and it's something that we often get questioned, like, what makes a good co-op? What makes someone successful here at Tech? And something I often share with people, and I know it's one of those things that it feels very vague, but you've already highlighted that, Manish. It's just having that willingness to like learn new things and really jump into areas that maybe might be out of your comfort zone, and really taking on those responsibilities. Like, you've got some really great experience, it sounds like, where you were able to take on a lot of responsibilities. And that's a real common theme we see with a lot of our students is they get involved in real projects, they're making some real impact. And I always joke, with mining, it makes it interesting. There's no real small numbers we're working with. You talked about, haul trucks, say, for example. We have a huge fleet of haul trucks at, $6 million for each one, like, affecting production and different things and making decisions around that. It can make some huge impact from, obviously, that's from like an economic standpoint. And then obviously safety and all these other things, that how race is really impacting how we do business. It's and technology implementation. It's been really interesting. A couple of things I want to mention, and only because we're obviously specifically speaking about big data and that sort of thing, but also we have students across a lot of different areas, and there's a lot of areas that I guess need to support this technology rollout and things like the networking side, and we have students within that space if there's an interest there. So maybe, Jared, can you speak to a little bit about the infrastructure that we've had to get in place to be able to get this data in your hands?
No, it's there's a lot of moving pieces, and there's a lot of different departments that kind of enable us to get the data to be even able to do what we're able to do. And so we have different groups that focus on sensors. We have like a part of RACE is something called Renew, is what the R stands for. And so there's a whole group of people focused on sensors, focus on renewing our business system so that we can get the information we need. There's data coming from our haul trucks that we need to package in a certain way in order to create visualizations. That's a whole another team. There's teams focused on 5G. There's teams focused on you name it. Like, there's probably roles I'm not thinking of right now, but there's a lot of effort behind the scenes and a lot of time and money and teams doing all sorts of things that kind of enable us to do what we do at Tech, or especially within the race that generate value. So I'll think of, if I think of more specifics, I'll add them to the chat. But
yeah, I put you on the spot there.
Yeah.
Sorry, and only because I obviously from a student perspective, we do put students in various different positions. So yeah, they get, like Jared has a co-op or several co-ops, and then Race obviously has several co-ops as well. But yeah, we have them in network infrastructure. We have them in some of our like more data engineering type roles or data pipelining. Like, there's a lot of different areas where we're putting students that you can get quite a variety of experience within in the business. So I wanted to highlight that because there's definitely some really neat little niche areas that that really support this this huge transition that we're in the process of working through. Ether, I know you're fairly new hire. You're here a year and a half. So can you talk to us a little bit? There's a question here about personal projects that you'd like to see on someone's portfolio, or I guess, can you give some advice to students on things they should be highlighting to really make sure that they're getting the right attention? I know you said sometimes it can be a little bit hard to pick out a specific skill set. Is there anything you can think of that someone should highlight in that data science front to show their skill sets off?
I'm trying to think here, and I'm trying to get difficult to say, but I feel like in general, just like writing down about whatever personal projects you worked on, that's quite an interesting thing to see in a resume, because it says that you were able to motivate yourself to work on a problem, and you ended up with a solution, and it doesn't really necessarily need to be like a giant project or anything like that. It could be just something to demonstrate that you have a specific skill set. Example for that, you could just pick up a project, and the intention of it is just to kind of demo your Python wrangling and visualization skills, for example. And that will just be like, something that everyone who would review that resume will catch. So I will say maybe like the personal projects, make sure that they're for you before they are for the recruiter, and they're for you to kind of like demo a skill set that you felt confident learning and you felt confident knowing about, and you're proud of knowing it. And with that intention, I think everyone who will see that resume will like it.
Yeah, that's a great point, I think, too. And something I often highlight to people too is more often than not, it's going to be someone like me looking at your resume rather than a Jared or an Ether. So it's make sure it's really straightforward in terms of where your interests are, highlight that, but make it so that highlight the technical skills for sure, but then obviously make it obvious for someone like a recruiter who maybe doesn't have a strong technical background, but it makes it really straightforward of how you meet this requirement. So how that highlights where your interests are. I also tell people too, like, talk about the impact that project could make or has made. Like what were you able to achieve with that particular project? And I think that's really neat from a hiring manager's perspective, but also from a recruitment perspective to see like, oh, so this is the problem you were solving, or this is why you're excited about it. So I think it's really neat to it shows a bit of personality in there, but also shows sort of the meaningfulness and how passionate you are about that particular field that you've picked a project in. So definitely just little tips when you're putting on your resume anyway, just to highlight those things. Great. Okay, we got a couple more questions in the chat, so I want to make sure we get to them prior to moving into trivia. It was mentioned before about that analytics are communicated via dashboard. Wondering what kind of dashboard is used in enterprise. Is it custom? Is it cloud inbuilt dashboard? Like AWS QuickSight? I don't know that one, but I'm sure you guys probably heard of it. Do you want me to, can I throw it over to you, Ether? Is that one for you to comment on?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think in general, like the easiest way maybe like I find to kind of deliver some sort of results to a stakeholder is probably visualization. That's why you'll always find that dashboards are kind of something that people usually use in data science, especially if your stakeholders are not necessarily data scientists as well. In our case, sometimes like our stakeholders could be ourselves, like data scientists, but they could be like, people from the side, like mining engineers or geologists and all of that. So a dashboard will just be a very strong way to kind of communicate these results, and it will be easy for them to look at the results you obtained. Like at least in my team, we had like, custom dashboards, but we also had like other cloud inbuilt. So it would just like depend on what the team is using and all of that. I wouldn't really kind of think too much about which one is used and all of that, because at the end of the day, it's just, you'll go through the steps to build a dashboard and you'll get through it. So maybe just in general, the skill of what is necessary to build a dashboard and why, and how to just make it possible for someone who's not with the technical skills or knowledge to kind of understand it. So that's basically what you need to do, whether you built it in R before, Python, or anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Great point. Jared, did you want to comment further on that, or?
No, I just want to reinforce what Ether said is you're working, especially in the work we're doing, is you're often communicating results of some very technical work to a stakeholder that isn't technical. And so, the requirements for the dashboard, how you lay it out in a meaningful way that enables them to make decisions. That's probably the most important part of dashboarding, at least that I've seen and that I've experienced. Our team uses Power BI, but again, the more critical step is building the requirements, building visualizations that can help make decisions. So yeah, can't emphasize that point enough.
Great. That makes sense. Great. And Ether, you've mentioned this before, now you get another question on it, but someone's talked about migrating from GCP to Azure. And I guess they're wondering why, given the competitive pricing of GCP.
I feel like I'm definitely not the right person to answer this question.
I know, I'm like, this is big, big questions here.
But I feel like it's still like the question here is just being familiar with cloud computing. I learned AWS and I ended up, using GCP and now migrating to Azure. It's not specifically about which GCP platform you're gonna use, but it's just a matter of just being familiar with it. I'm not sure, and maybe when you join tech, you'll just be able to answer all of those questions and get them out of your chest. So.
Yeah, I know we're pretty Microsoft heavy, so that might be part of it too. As a business, a lot of our tools are Microsoft, so that might be part of the reasoning behind why we chose to go that direction, as far as I understand. But yeah, I'm also not the expert in this area. I know there was a few questions in the chat that were with respect to recruitment. So I want to touch on that quickly and before we call it a session here today. But like I mentioned at the beginning, we're currently recruiting for that May co-op term. We actually recruit every 4 months for co-ops. So we bring quite a number of co-ops onto the team. So I know someone's asked a little bit about different areas in mining, geotechnical, material engineering programs. We literally hire all the different engineering disciplines, and then obviously in the technology space, quite a variety of areas within technology as well. So the interesting thing, someone's asked about if there's opportunities in the data field for these particular disciplines, and I would say the short answer would be yes. You might not be working as a data scientist as such, but you're seeing those sort of requirements for a lot of these different areas and disciplines changing quite a bit over the past few years, where we're focusing a little bit more on, hey, can you, how are you managing data, or can you work with our technology teams in terms of making sure that we're getting the value out of the technologies we're implementing at our operations. So I would say that, yes, you're going to get exposure to data, you're going to get exposure to technology within any of those areas of disciplines. Like Jared had talked about, he came from the mechanical field. And yeah, he was working on lots of different technology projects prior to actually joining the race team even at that point. So you're certainly going to get exposure in any area that you would work. So it's definitely, it's quite a transition from a business perspective in terms of all the different areas of mining that we touch on. So like I mentioned, so we're currently recruiting. We are looking to hire over 100 students to join the business, probably across all the businesses. All the different units of tech, we're probably going to have about 150, maybe 140 students join the business in May alone. So the program is huge. We have a community of students that really, we have events for our students. We have lunch and learns and different sessions so that, it ups your game in terms of not just knowing the area that you're working in, but really broadens your scope about the business and what other co-ops are doing across the business as well. Here's some quotes from some students that have worked for us, and we've got lots to pick from, but certainly these are some nice quotes just talking a little bit about the kind of experience students get and why they have enjoyed working at Tech as a student. So whether you're working in our corporate offices or working at the operational level, there's lots of really cool opportunities across the board. In terms of new graduates, I just want to touch on that too. If you are looking for a full-time position, if you're nearing graduation, say in May, there's certainly lots of opportunities, and they're literally changing every single day. So if you keep an eye on our website, we've got lots of recruitment activity happening right now. You can set yourself up for job alerts, and so that'll highlight those positions, because some of the times we may not name them traditionally what you would see out in the world. We like to just keep it interesting and maybe name them different titles than you would expect. So certainly keep an eye out. You know, it might, like for Jared's team, it might be like value delivery, or it's just going to be different titles. So take a look, do a little bit of homework on what we're calling our jobs, and then obviously set yourself up for job alerts. So if you're in anything that's requiring, say, computer engineering, for example, then you've got that. So anything that puts that in the requirements, you'll get pinged with that particular posting to come up, and you'll be notified when it's posted for us. For co-ops, I know someone's asked how you can apply. So yeah, you could go to the tech.com/students, or just go to the tech.com/careers website, and you'll see all the postings there. We also go through a lot of universities through their co-op offices, but again, it sort of drives you through the tech website to apply so that we can manage our applicants through our system that we have here. Yeah. And then what else? Is there any other questions that I'm missing, Misaki? Have you seen any more that I think someone asked about relocation, maybe?
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking.
Okay. Yeah, so if you do work at our operations level and you're required to sort of work with our operations group, we do support with relocation for co-op students. So we'll pay for your travel here at the beginning of your term, and then we travel home at the end of your term. So travel costs are paid for. We also pay for your co-op fees while you're with us, up to $700 a term. And then we also put $500 on your first paycheck, and that's just to get you settled, or to, you know, cover any other sort of incidental costs that would have come up through relocation. So that's sort of there to just help you get settled away. So that support is certainly there for our co-ops. And I know in some of the areas we have small town living, so it sometimes can be challenging for people to find housing. So we also support you through that. So what we would do is make sure you're in touch with all the other co-op students before you, like say for the Elk Valley area, for example, I get all the co-op students on an email a month prior to their start so that they can start corresponding with each other if they want to, find roommates, and then obviously make you aware of any rentals and that sort of thing that are in the area that we're aware of, and then places where people generally post. So you have all the tools at your fingertips that you need to be able to find a place to live and get settled away. All right. And then, yeah, someone's asked about whether if it's just co-op or if it's non-co-op students. So I guess, yes, we can do both. We support the co-op programs at the universities, but we certainly have hired outside of co-op if someone's a traditional student, but they want to take like 8 months or 12 months out of their academic schedule to get some work experience. I'm totally open to hiring students like that as well. So that's more than acceptable. The biggest thing is, yeah, to note is that most of our co-ops, I would say 99% of them are going to be that longer term. So you're going to want to make yourself available for at least 8 months or 12 months to be able to work a co-op here, because 4 months is just so fast. And you really just don't get the experience and get those projects under your belt the same. And so we really lean heavily on those longer terms to be able to add that value for the student's experience. I think I got them all. Anything I'm missing, Misaki? Have you seen anything else pop up?
I think you hit them all. There's one typo of Python. I think they're asking if Python is mandatory for, I think we sort of covered it, but. Yeah,
I don't know if there's any mandatories at this point, hey, for
no
deal breakers. Yeah, okay. And then I guess maybe a good place for us to end before we wrap it up. I'd like to throw one more question at Ithar and Jared. Would be, what gets you excited? What's the next step look like? What's in the next couple of years? Is there anything that gets you particularly excited about the direction we're moving as a company? Maybe I'll start with you, Jared. Sorry.
Yeah, I get excited about how the data enables us to solve problems. Like we're starting to get into problems that I honestly, being here for 14 years, I didn't think we'd be touching some of the areas of concern that we are now, and it's I think that's just going to accelerate, but yeah, that's what I'm excited most about is just how can we jump most of these hurdles that we've had that are long standing and use different methods to do that and different types of data. Yeah. That'll be what I say I'm most excited for.
Cool. That's great. How about you, Ithar?
Yeah, I think for me it's a very specific thing. It's I joined recently. It's 4 months ago, like a new team, the Rock Hub Blending, and we have this beautiful pipeline that is we're building, and by the end of this year, I think we're expecting to see the result of that solution. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that will improve the operation on the site, and yeah, like we'll be like in a cash flow state. So I want to definitely see how that will be. And yeah, we're trying also to sell it to other sites, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
That's awesome. It's really exciting. It is, like you say, it's I think something I talk to students about a lot too, and from a technology perspective in mining, is that you get to see what you're working on and the impact that you're making. It's not just like a pie in the sky sort of ideas. It's yeah, really making some impact to the operations, and then that's makes it pretty fun type of work to work on for sure. Yeah, awesome. All right, well, I think that's pretty much it. Someone's asked about software developer, data analyst, co-op roles. And yes, we do have some. We had them posted. I think they're still up. If not, feel free to reach out to if you're interested in those roles and you haven't had a chance to apply yet, feel free to reach out to the talent acquisition email and we'll get them in my hands anyway if you are interested still. But yeah, again, I think we can wrap it up and call it a good one. You guys, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. And thanks to Ethar and Jared for all your insights, and Manish. I really appreciate everyone chiming in today.